Welcome to another Atchman Kings of War Battle Report, the Epic Quest 18. Ratkin Slaves versus Salamanders. 3,000 points, and the scenario was Pillage. The changes of Clash of Kings make Ratkin Slaves a little bit easier army to field. You don't have to have all the Abyssal Dwarf things in there. I do have a few Abyssal Dwarf models in there, but everything else is basically made up of my old GW Skaven army. And then my friend Sean had a friend of his print up a whole bunch of things for tunnel runners. So I've got 3 full regiments of tunnel runners. He also printed up 2 of the Death Engine Impalers. I'm only using 1 in this game. And Golek Skinflayer currently is basically my old GW Doom Wheel that has a banner on it, so you can tell that he's somewhat different than the others. And if I get wild, I may actually keep that model and just put an Abyssal Dwarf Rider on there instead of the Skaven mad-looking guy that's on it now. If you've seen the last 3,000 point battle we did, you've seen this Salamander army before, and the issue that I'm having with it is not that it's not a bad army. The issue I'm having with it is getting used to playing against it, which is a disadvantage to John, the guy that owns it. And so, it's one of those things is where you know what everything is before, there's no tricks up your sleeve. So may have to think about adding a couple models to the army. But John, basically, this is his entire army played at one time, and that's very good because you can bring out your army box and you've got everything you own in it. I've got to say that the greater fire elemental added to the Salamander's army is a really good deal. I've never really kind of noticed it before, but it kind of comes into its own in a Salamander army, and I just enjoy the advantages that it gives to them. It's kind of unforeseen until you've played against them. So again, I like that model that's in there, and like the Lacheladons, they're always a pain in the butt. They're not an overpower shooting thing, but on the other hand, then they become a decent chaff unit, and they're hard to get rid of. That's the good thing about them. Tyrants are always scary. Ceremonial guards are always scary. Ancients are pain because of their high armor and their leadership ability. Of course, the Clan Lord on Fire Drake, he's scary. So the whole army is full of scary stuff, but it probably suffers just from the, like I said, just because I've played against it so much of the time. That would be the downside of this whole army is just there's not really much you can do since that's all the models you own. And my Ratkin slave army was basically stretching the models I own. I could have probably proxied some stuff into it, but that wouldn't have been cool. I mean, especially when I have painted models for it, so there's no reason to be proxying things into it. So I was on John's left, and he, knowing that I'm a veteran rat player, he sets up to try to counter the filth that I was going to bring forth in this game. He starts off with his Gekotage Slasher, a horde of tyrants, the Lacheladon that's there, and then the next is one of the troops of geckos and his Rhinosaur Cav, and then the next thing is a unit of ceremonial guard. So that is an all-star lineup. Plus, I think he had his sorcerer back there that had Bane Chant. So he had a lot of Bane Chant support in this end of the line as well. Kind of the middle right of his line, he had his Greater Fire Elemental, a troop of geckos, and then the other unit of Ceremonial Guard. Just off the screen to your right would be the Lord on Fire Drake. On the very end of his line, he had his troop of Scorchwings, and then the Phoenix, and I believe the other unit of Tyrants was there behind the tower. So that's a pretty strong lineup to oppose Carl on this end of the table. Carl, I've given most of the warriors and stuff just to hold John up while I used all of the death wheels to part of the army to roll forward and attack. Yeah, I found a picture here. The Tyrants and a Lacheladon were there behind the tower, and they're going to be able to push forward fairly well because there's not a whole lot in front of them that could stop them. So over here on the extreme right side of the Ratkin Slaves line, I put a troop of Vermintide. Behind those was the Nightmares, and then a unit of Tunnel Runners with the Brew of Sharpness. Then the Overmaster was taking cover behind that unit. On top of the hill, we stuck one of the Katushan rocket launchers up there to be able to rain fire down upon our enemies. One thing I got to say is the nightmares have not been a great thing for me. And this game, I used them wrong the whole game. And so I'm still not impressed with them, but it may just be because I am not using them correctly. But I end up using them more like, I mean, I kind of wish I had brutes back, not because of any nostalgia, because I didn't use them either. But it's just when they start to the fighting phase, their brutes were just a little bit better. So you can see the rest of the Wheels of Death there. There are 2 regiments of tunnel runners, both with terrain mitigation, Caterpillar and Strider. The Abyssal half-breed guy with Mournful Blade, and behind him on the green wheel, that's Golett Skinflare. You see what I'm saying now, that it's a different enough model that you know that it's the hero. But over toward the other side, it's all warriors, 2 units. There's a unit of warriors, and then the Death Engine Impaler, and then a legion of wretches, and on the very far end, another unit of warriors. The slave driver was actually deployed over there to bolster all that stuff, and then the other rocket launchers over there. Lastly, if you could see just in the edge of the screen, is the other troop of Vermintide to just get out there and try to chaff up the approaching tyrants. So we won the roll, and Carl was adamant about going second, so we went second. I think it would have been better to go first because of the loot tokens in this scenario, just to be able to go up and grab them faster and then maybe start to get away with them. But we decided to go second, and so the Slasher moves forward to shoot, the Lachilodon moves forward, and lastly, the Tyrants move forward in support. Everything else moved forward just online, essentially, in the woods. And you can now see where the dragon is behind the unit of Rhinosaur Cav. The last few games, John has been using a double envelopment. But in these 3,000-point games, that's hard because there's just so many drops that you can just keep throwing on each flank until the other guy just gives up. And we had more drops slightly, but our drops were meaningless, essentially. They were just there to block stuff up. And then so in the middle, he has a more traditional deployment here with the Ceremonial Guard, the Rhinosaur Cav, chaff unit of geckos, the dragon behind him in support, and I think that's his mage priest on the right there in the middle to support them with Bane Chant and some inspiring leadership. Kind of the right center, the rest of the units moved up. The Scorchwings took cover behind the wall. Did have some shooting over there, but the only direct shooting was the slave driver with his diadem. So over here, the Tyrants, the Phoenix, and the Lachilodon come bursting forward around the edge of the white building. One of the things about John lately is that playing John versus playing Carl is that John has been very bold as of late, just moving his stuff out there, getting it stuck in very quickly. And I think you have to do that in this scenario, especially if you don't have the speed. And not that my army is super speedy, but it's way speedier than his, I'm pretty sure. So that was a good idea to go ahead and press it early instead of waiting until there's a legion of rats sitting on top of a token, which is going to be very hard to get rid of. This is what I don't like about going second. My chaff unit took a bunch of wounds from the Lachilodon early, and it was so close. If he would have wavered me, I would have been in trouble already this game. I shouldn't have put my nightmares behind it, but the nightmares can shoot over them. I mean, yeah, at -1, but I wanted them to be able to shoot, but I couldn't move them up forward far enough this turn to shoot. And I took some damage from, I think, the bolt thrower on the back of the Slasher this turn. And so I just moved up. I'm within range to charge anything that's foolish enough to get out there. The Abyssal half-breed comes trotting over there because my goal with him was I was just going to run him into that Lachilodon and get rid of his chaff as quickly as possible. So and plus I didn't care if the geckos charged him because he can destroy, I'm pretty sure, a regiment of geckos by himself. I moved forward rather deliberately in the middle, and the reason why is a Ceremonial Guard there, but Ceremonial Guard with their phalanx and stuff, if that was cavalry, I would be screwed. But being chariots instead, it's not so bad. Yeah, I'm going to lose my Thunderous Charge because of phalanx, or at least one of it. which is all I have. So I'm going to lose that because of phalanx, but I'm not going to be -1 to hit as normal for these things. And Carl just pushed everything up online with me. He's the one that comes up and starts doing some shooting and starts chipping away at the right-hand side of the Salamander line. So on turn 2, John continues to press forward. The Geckos go ahead and charge the Abyssal Half-Breed to keep him from causing chaos in the back of his army. And then that opens up a potential charge for the Rhinosaur Cav into one of my other units here in the front. So in the middle here, it appears that John is asking me to try to charge his middle, and I see the trap that's there. But on the other hand, if I could kill that unit, the trap doesn't work nearly as well, because I think I can overrun out of the arc of some of the responding units. So we'll have to see, is that a risk worth taking or not? But I realize that Ceremonial Guard are not an easy unit to kill. I've played against them enough times. I just despise those things because of how hard they are to kill with their phalanx and everything. Over here on the right-hand side of John's line, he went up and moved the Tyrant to go grab the first loot counter, and then the other 2 units, the Lecheilodon and the Phoenix, goes ahead and blocks. You got to understand, I have very little threat over there. I mean, everything over there is hits on 5s and no crushing strength, nothing. So, yes, I know that it's a fairly weak flank, but on the other hand, that is a ton of leadership to eat your way through, no matter how you phrase it. His Abyssal Half-Breed moved up next to his Impaler, and hopefully they'll get into some action very, very soon as well, because those 2 in a combo charge is just about like getting hit by a horde of something, so, or at least a regiment. So they're pretty good. They're pretty good, especially together. It's a nice combo there that Carl has going. I know this is confusing, but John kind of came back to this flank and redid his moves over here. He rolled a spectacular 6 on his silly wild charge, and that was going to allow his Tyrants to get into my tunnel runners. The Gecko Slasher goes into the unit of Vermintide, and so now it's just a general all-around scrum over here. I didn't see the Tyrants, how they could get there, but I'm not saying critically. I'm just saying I just didn't see it, and it just depends on the order of charge, which is, in matter of fact, I even stopped him and said, your order of charge needs to be this, and this needs to get out of the way there to make sure that it's a completely legal charge. But I saw how he could do it. I just didn't think he would roll a 3 for his wild charge, but he did, and now he's going to smash on my poor Doom Wheels there. The Slasher, of course, annihilates the poor unit of Vermintide, and first blood goes to John. The bad thing is that when the Slasher did its overrun, it rolled a single inch, and that is going to prove critical in the next turn. So John does an amazing 11 points of damage to the unit of Tunnel Runners with the Brew of Sharpness. That's my most expensive unit, and is going to easily wipe them off the table. So John goes ahead and backs up or actually not back up, but he reforms the Tyrants to handle the oncoming attacks. It's kind of going to be a hard thing, because if anybody holds or bounces, the other one's going to take them out. So it's going to be a really tight turn here. It's a question of gambling on what to do. So I'll go ahead and slam the Overmaster and the Nightmares into the Tyrants. The Tyrants actually have, the Nightmares actually have the Blessing of the Gods, so they'll get to reroll 1s going in there. And then I disengage the Abyssal Half-Breed from the Geckos and charge into the side of the Tyrants. I just didn't have, everything there is not hitting super hard, but I have to kill that unit. If I don't, the Slasher is going to open me up on the next turn. Carl does an excellent job of supporting my attack in the middle here. He goes ahead and puts the Death Engine Spewer into the, wherever it is, it's a Death Engine something, and the Abyssal Half-Breed into that unit of Ceremonial Guards. And then the unit of Warriors, I think, go into the unit of geckos right in the front. That's just going to keep everything from being able to pivot around. The rest of his army is just kind of staying pat there, trying to get up to those tokens. It just couldn't get this turn because of that little pond, which he deserved because he just painted it. So anyway, it wasn't there before the game, but I thought it looked cool, so I threw it on the table. You can see Carl's supporting charge to help me out. The fire elemental was a little tricky because he would have been actually in the flank of it, so he couldn't charge it. So he goes ahead and just charges the geckos in the front and hopes that he can move forward to support. The fire elemental is going to be a big threat to the flank of my center attack here. So I did do a balls out charge in the middle of John's line. I sent Golik into the Rhinosaur Cav, and I put both hordes of tunnel runners into the unit of Ceremonial Guard, knowing it would take both of them to get through them. So this is a pretty risky move. I mean, between Carl and I, we actually launched a fairly hard attack in the middle of his army this turn. So yeah, the tunnel runners whacked that unit of Ceremonial Guard really, really well and destroyed them. And it was a lucky thing because I rolled 11 twice on their break test, even though I didn't do really quite enough damage where it was like, snake eyes or something. But I rolled really, really well on the break test and destroyed them. And I'm sure John was as shocked as I was that that happened. So it was going to be a tragedy. But now, I was in position. I had to figure out what to do with my guys to take advantage of this success. On top of everything else, the tyrants are gone as well from the combined attack of all three of my units there. I sent the nightmares toward the slasher. I managed to overrun 6 inches toward the Golik's melee over there with the overmasters, so he was out of charge arc of that thing, and so I was in really good spot right here. So Carl's guys do get rid of the geckos, and on top of that, the Abyssal Half-Breed and the wheel there does a significant amount of damage to the Ceremonial Guard. And so now it's going to be up to John to respond to our devastating turn. John Slasher goes ahead and trundles into the Nightmares, and who are already wounded, so this is probably not going to work out very well for me. So in response to our success, John launches an all-out attack. The Tyrants and the Scorchwings go slamming into the Legion of Wretches, and then the Phoenix and the Lacheladon go in and try to occupy that last unit of warriors there on the very end. So John dumps Banechant onto his Rhinosaur Cav to make up for some of the damage I did to him, and then he does outstanding 10 wounds to Golik Skinflare, and then you can see right next to his right hand he rolled Snake Eyes. And after the last game where I rolled 4 Snake Eyes, I thought it was funny, but I know I shouldn't laugh because it happens to me, it happens to all of us. But it always seems like it's in the for some people it's always in the most key moment of the game. Other people it's like irrelevant. But what can you say? So over here with the Slasher, it rolled garbage too. I think it did like 2 wounds to that unit of Nightmares. John's dice just totally went super cold all at one time. Instead of charging into my tunnel runners, John goes ahead and shoots everything into them with the Lord on Fire Drake and the Fire Elemental, but only does a scant 3 points of damage despite, I don't know how many attacks that is, 20-something, and does barely any damage to him. So this turn I get to get back at those creatures, so I stick the 1 unit of tunnel runners into the flank of the Saurus Cav. These units had used their boots of striding already, so they were hindered in this turn. In the front, though, Golik Skinflare and the Abyssal Half-Breed charge into the front there. I kept the dragon, or my dragon, in reserve this turn to just to be sure that nothing else comes slipping around the corner, and just trying to negate any threat from his. As you would imagine, with 48 crushing 1 attacks into the flank, despite needing 5s to hit, it did finish him off. Plus Golik and the Abyssal Half-Breed went forward. The Abyssal Half-Breed went ahead and ran forward a die 6, because I see his mage priest is standing there by himself, and it's the first thing I've been able to threaten with my mournful blade was that guy. So I just went ahead and plunged him forward to see if I can get a shot at that guy. In the previous turn, the Salamanders had charged the Tyrants and the Scorchwings into the Legion of Ratkin, and they held out. I don't know. I think they were actually wavered. So, but they did a tremendous amount of damage. But that unit has a tremendous amount of leadership. So that opens up the Scorchwings for being flank charged by the unit of one of the warrior units there. Over on the left, the Phoenix and the Lakiladon are fighting another unit of warriors there. In the very middle, the Death Engine and the Abyssal Half-Breed have been raining damage on the unit of Ceremonial Guard, and now the big unit, another big warrior unit, is slammed into them as well. I know they're not going to hurt them very much, but you start accumulating that many attacks, it starts to add up. So unfortunately for me, the Dragon and the Fire Elemental slam into the unit of Tunnel Runners. They're the ones that had the potion of the Caterpillar. I still have another unit left, and I've got Golic there. I've still got some stuff that can address that situation. But over to the left, it's a hard-fought battle over there. They're just trading blows right and left. So the Dragon and the Fire Elemental easily destroyed the unit of Tunnel Runners. As you would consider 30 swings in the flank, that was probably going to hurt a little bit. And the Dragon then turned to face the Tunnel Runners that were there. That's pretty much it for the turn. Everything is kind of in the middle. They're just bashing each other back and forth over there. So in a really good move, John goes ahead and countercharges the big unit of warriors, which are not very hitty, and then uses his Eternal Guard troop to attack the Death Engine there. And I think that either the Death Engine or maybe nothing has that token there, but there's a couple units right next to it. They just haven't touched it yet. So Golic and the Tunnel Runners charge into the Dragon there. They are hindered because there's a wall in the way, and plus they've been in the woods there, so they're going to lack a little bit of punch in that regard. You can see in the background here the half-breed champion is banging on the Mage Priest with his mournful blade, and hopefully that'll take him out this turn. Though I didn't capture it on camera, Carl had rolled Snake Eyes on the Ceremonial Guard the turn before, and this turn he went ahead and finished them off. So, I mean, all he needed to do was one wound, and then they were going to be taken off. So that was pretty cool. Over here, the Death Wheel, whatever it's called, is still fighting those Eternal Guard. They have armor 6, and they hit pretty well. So that's going to be a good fight. What's really deceptive about playing with Ratkin, sometimes, you got this great flank charge or whatever, but you're hitting on 5s and you have no crushing. And so, it's a lot of attacks, but it doesn't usually have very much of an effect. So that's what's happening here with Carl's attack on those Scorchwings. Believe it or not, the Slasher has failed to kill the Nightmares, and they've been fighting, I guess, for a couple of turns now. The Geckos go ahead and charge into the Overmaster on Ancient Abyssal Half-Breed, and I think they're just trying to tie him up for a turn so he doesn't go join the real fight. In his turn, John had went ahead and ran the Dragon and the Fire Elemental into the fight against one of the last Tunnel Runner unit there. And Tunnel Runners are pretty tough, especially when Golic's around them, because he has Rally 2, and that really helps out in their ability to stay. Otherwise, they are just dead fragile. Over here, the Salamanders finally break the Legion of Wretches, and that's allowing the Scorchwings now to turn around and face the unit of Ratkin warriors that are attacking them. Over on the left, they're still locked in fight because Ratkin warriors suck and they can't hurt anything. So that's what's happening over there in that part of the board. And I think Carl is just taking opportune shots in with his shooting ability over here, because he does have the Overmaster who has a diadem, and he has at least one. He has one of the rocket launchers over here on this side of the table. The Tunnel Runners took a very respectable 10 points of damage, but with Golic nearby, they were able to hold. And now, as you can see, the other unit of Ratkin Warriors has turned toward the back of
both the dragon and the fire elemental. So they're right in the middle of getting crushed, one on each side. Also, you can see that the abyssal half-breed is moving over there to join this fight as well. So in the Ratkin slaves' turn, the tunnel runners go ahead and countercharge the dragon, and Golik and the abyssal half-breed go ahead and charge into the fire elemental, trying to take it out. The unit of warriors goes ahead and takes on the mage priest. It's weird. I mean, with Morpho Blade and everything, I didn't manage to kill that silly mage priest, which I've been telling you, the duelist rule is not all that. It needs to be more effective, I think, in the game, because against these hard armored characters, you can't do anything with it. So yeah, the nightmares go ahead and charge back into the slasher. I think he's on 9 wounds, so he's starting to waver there. The Overmaster goes ahead and attacks the unit of geckos, hopefully trying to clear them out this turn. So over here, Carl's Death Engine Impaler went ahead and finally destroyed that stupid unit of Eternal Guard. I mean, they're actually bolstering it up because they're providing some inspiring fervor on that side of the table. All right, you can see the Abyssal Half-Breed and the Death Engine Impaler turning slowly toward the remnant of Carl's army. Of the Salamanders here. Over on the extreme left, the Phoenix finally died to the unit of warriors, and now they're turned toward the Lakiladon or toward the Tyrants. But right now we are in good shape as far as in one way or the other, we're going to be able to get them. If one thing dies, then we'll be able to slam it with the other. So the dragon died this turn to the tunnel runners, and the last unit of warriors over there goes ahead and destroys the mage priest. The only thing really left over there is the fire elemental, and it's beat all to heck. I think it has like 12 wounds on it or something extreme. I was shocked that it didn't die as well. Just out of the picture to the right, the Overmaster was ahead and killed the unit of geckos, and believe it or not, even after all the turns of fighting, the Nightmares finally killed the Gecko Slasher. John just rolled really poorly because he's hitting on 3s. So it wasn't like that it was a hard dice roll, but he was just rolling really bad with that guy. It's like they think he was blind or something. So this is the very last picture of the battle. At the very end, we destroyed the last fire elemental and basically secured all of those. Everything there has a token, and so we're going to get enough victory points here to win this one. With more tokens in the hands of the Ratkin slaves managed to pull out a win against a very, very tough Salamander army. One of the things about the new Ratkin slaves, and I mentioned it earlier, is that they have their stuff unlocks now, like they're just their regular old warriors unlocked now. And before, you had to have some sort of abyssal dwarf unit. And I think it really causes a dysfunction in the army because you have those slow abyssal dwarf guys. And you have all these fast tunnel runners, and the Ratkin troops are fairly quick too, and can move up and support the faster moving, like I said, the tunnel runners and the death engines and all that stuff. They can get up there and support it. And when they had just abyssal dwarf things in there, I didn't really think you could do that kind of thing. It was always seemed like it was disjointed, like you were always leaving the abyssal dwarfs behind, and of course the abyssal dwarfs are always getting charged. So I think this made it changed the dynamic of this army a little bit, and I really do like the wheels, all the wheels in the army. I think it looks cool. I might rebase them because they're looking kind of white from a distance here, at least on the bases. So I might rebase them a little bit to darken them up some, or maybe even just wash something over them, to darken them down, like something so like a light wash of ink or something to kind of darken them up a little bit. So anyway, the Ratkin slave, this army played really, really well. They managed to get in some early hits on me over here on the right flank. It slowed me down. But in the middle, we were able to dominate through. Carl did a great job. He separated John's whole army. It pulled him to the left there, and then Carl managed to destroy one of the ceremonial guard units. The surprise move of the game was when both units of tunnel runners slammed into his ceremonial guard. and destroyed it in one go. Now, if one of those units would have been the one with Brew of Sharpness, I could have seen that result. But it was really a dicey thing just because of the rolling for force to hit. I just hate rolling for force to hit. So I did that, and then I rolled really well on the morale test by rolling 11 twice and taking them out. Well, that really broke the game open, because then one unit of tunnel runners was able to turn toward to help Carl, or at least pull stuff away from Carl's flank, and then the other one was able to hang on, and it survived the game after killing the dragon, and then it helped to kill the fire elemental. So the tunnel runners are cool, but you got to have Golic with them. There's no reason to take them without Golic. Just like over on the other flank there, I gave Carl a slave driver with the diadem, and he's perfect for that role over there, because he's just standing around giving inspire and rally on those big pit units that are hard to kill, just because there's just so many numbers to them. And so, of course, just like any kind of rat army, leadership is very important, and I really think that you have to try to keep things close together. And I guess I didn't realize, I think the Abyssal Half-Breeds actually have inspired. I didn't think they did, but maybe I'm just making a mistake. But those guys, man, Abyssal Half-Breed champion, I had one used against me in a tournament, and I could not believe how hard that stupid thing hit. And it was sitting there just banging on units, and it would charge in with something, then disengage and go fight somewhere else. And I'm like, holy crap, he's like a tornado. So I put 2 in this 3,000-point army, and in my 2,300-point army, I have 2. I'm not sure if I could fit them in at the 2,000-point level, but haven't really messed up with a 2,000-point list. The only reason I would do a 2,000-point list is to take it to a 2,000-point tournament. But I really like this new version of the Ratkin Slaves. It plays to my style anyway. I don't know if anybody else would like it. I think it would be vulnerable to flyers, just the way it is. But on the other hand, with those Abyssal Half-Breeds, it's flyer beware to jump in the back of this line, because those suckers could kill you just outright, unless you're just a massive dragon. And if you've only got one flyer, you're in trouble anyway. And then the other thing that I don't have in this list is I didn't have any of the gargoyles, or whatever they have, heartbeats or gargoyles, whatever. I had none of them in the list, which is just an oversight on my part. But I'm not sure they would have worked all that well anyway. But here, these guys had just, really everything had a reliable leadership except the Vermintide. So I don't know. I don't think it needed the gargoyles and stuff. But if I was playing in a regular tournament, I would definitely have those, and the just to help with flyer defense, or just to steal objectives, other sorts of late game things there. So I don't know. I mean, did I miss them? No. But then again, I think I had a lot of fun with the death engines. The Spewer, man, it kicks butt now, because it has enough attacks. And before, it was kind of like a weak giant. Now it's fast, and it has against regular infantry, 2 dice 6 plus 7 or something. And so it'll wear you. It'll just flat wear you down over time. Again, always better with Golic around it. But the new formation, the Ratkin Slaves formation with it, that is badass. I mean, it's going to be that's a good deal with. I mean, I'm sorry about the Slaves formation. I mean the regular Ratkin formation with the Death Engine in it is a great formation, and I really enjoy using it because of the benefits that gives the Death Engine in that particular load. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed. It's probably very rare to see a Ratkin Slave battle report, and again, as I'm playing Salamanders, but I hate to tell you guys this, but every local player has a Salamander army, so I end up playing them a lot, and it just can't be avoided. I mean, it's just everybody has a Salamander. I'm the only one that doesn't have a Salamander army, but I have used them before in a battle report where we swapped armies during a game, which was kind of cool. So anyway, I hope next week, next week's going to be 19, and then after that is the Rift Forge Orcs, and the epic quest is over.